If normal bunkhouses aren't just fitting your family, check this one out. They found a way to do it a little bit differently. Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd of Bish's RV, down here at our Anderson, Indiana store, just outside of Indianapolis, where we obviously have Springdales. And this is a model I've never seen before. The thing here with this one is they really focused on doing the bunk room a little bit differently, and I really like it. I think the bunk room is by far and away the shining star of this floor plan, because I'll tell you, I walked into it and I went, okay, it's another budget-focused stick-and-tin bunkhouse. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if what you're looking for is camping, not glamping, you don't want to spend your money on fireplaces and ceiling fans, you know, this is a good RV for you right here to take your family out to do some basic things, because it's nothing more than it has to be. What it does, I think it does pretty well. And what it doesn't do, a lot of times owners with the money they're not spending on a more basic camper like this could apply a few updates or upgrades themselves and still come out ahead. But the rear bunk room on this one is really probably the reason that you're looking at or buying this one, because you're buying it for the bunkhouse and you just get everything else. Kind of like you tune into my videos to see the RV, but you stay for the 1980s cartoon vampire trivia, right? I mean, anyone who's been watching my channel for a while knows that's really the big reason this channel has been succeeding. But normal bunkhouses only work for like little kids. The way that they came up with this one, it can work for adult-sized people. So, if you're trying to go out and do some basic bunk camping, but maybe you have an adult child with special needs, or you just have teenagers that are the size of an adult, this is a camper that can actually work for you. And on those rainy days, you've got that super slide for the extra space, and it's 6'9" from floor to ceiling. That's something that Springdale has recently changed over to. So it's better for taller folks like myself. Now, it's got a couple, I'll tell you one of the knocks I have against it. We're going to tell you the good with the bad as we go today. It's a short Camp Queen mattress up front. You could probably shove a True Queen in, but it would be tight. And little details like that, if you appreciate that transparency before you spend your money, hit that subscribe button, like our video, and let's see what she has to offer. And I'm sure that we're going to see some comment criticism. This is not a criticism of the criticism, by the way. I'm just estimating. We're going to see things like, you know, it's lacking campside windows. I need a theater seat. I want a fireplace, that kind of thing. It's just not that kind of camper. It's not to say that they couldn't build something like this with those kind of features, but this one just doesn't have them. The 6'9" interior is something that I really like that they adopted, like J-Flight, Wildwood, Salem, Catalina. They all kind of do that, and the 3 extra inches of ceiling space versus industry standard makes a big difference. And this is my nerd preferred way of doing slide flooring, when it absolutely matches the main floor and they don't have like a dedicated trim ring around it. It just looks so much cleaner. The generally light colors with a little bit of dark contrast in the taller ceiling really make this thing look and feel quite large. Now, to be fair, it's not exactly a small RV. Single centralized air conditioner is standard, but one of the crazy things is you can actually get these 50 amp service with a second air conditioner, which is actually what we're going to get to see today. I think it's actually really cool that we're getting an opportunity to check one of those out. Now, the kitchen's actually pretty good. There's a lot of storage here, but because the slide's over on the driver's side, you know, the kitchen's on the campsite, so we don't get a lot of windows. And this being a more budget camper, we don't have a window in the door. Now, somebody might say, why don't they just flip the floor plan then? Well, you can't, because the stuff that's in the slide, the dinette and the sofa, would overlap with the door. You can't. Unless you added like 2.5 feet to the RV, you can't. So that's why we get what we get. But I think that there's some merit. I'm not saying it's the answer for everyone. By again mentioning this is a more basic camper, not a fancy glamper, and it's kind of designed where, you know, you want to be outside, you want to see outside, go outside with your family. The super slide living space and the privacy, those are just to help get you through rainy days. But again, speaking of that rear room, I really think this is like the focal point of the RV. When most bunkhouses, especially private bunkhouses, they'll have 3 or 4 individual little single bunks that are typically only about 72 to 74 inches long, and they're only good for littles. But because they went with an upper L bunk, you basically have pretty close to an 8-foot long bunk across the top that can fit taller people. Now, if you have littles, You could obviously sleep one on the left and then one straight ahead right here. And they each have their own light. They have their own household power outlets. We have TV hookups back here if you really feel like juicing them up that way to get you through a rainy day. You'd be like, kids, go to your room, you know. But a lot of bunks, you have to heave-ho, throw the kid into the upper bunk. But you don't have to do that here because it's almost a modernization of the classic Jack and Jill bunk where you have a double size on the bottom, which is basically a Camp Queen, and then you have a, the single beds above. So the lower bunk kind of acts like steps to get to the upper bunk. Now, could the kids maybe do a Randy Savage elbow drop or the Hulk Hogan leg drop on one another here? Yeah, you're gonna have to parent that. The RV can't do that job for you. And they left this totally open air, which I got a little bit of a love-hate with. It's nice as a big cargo space, but it does bleed inside-outside, which isn't exactly my favorite thing. Now, I'm going to have you point bottom left here in a second. Springdale has maintained the use of floor ducted heating. They're using a different type of register, though. It's a lot easier on the feet and helps keep some junk out of there, but it is still floor ducted heating. The thing is, floor ducted heating is a more effective heating system, but it's maybe not always the most user-friendly in that way. I like the little, dresser shelf, shoe shelf, stuff like that. And it's interesting because one thing that most bunkhouses lack is good storage. But if I use some X-ray vision and get you inside there, one of the things that you see is that's a big hanging closet. It is a little bit awkward to access, but man, I don't know. I figure like maybe I can just kind of deal with that a little bit. The dinette over here is a very standard booth dinette. It does have storage below it. It doesn't have any access doors or anything, so you're not going to put your daily use and function stuff in there. By the way, if you're paying attention, between the dinette and the sofa, in the super slide, there's a set of USB plugs. And while we're looking around the kitchen, keep an eye out for, like the easy outlet location by the kitchen countertop. And the fact that there's those yellow stickers on some of the outlets, what they're telling you is that outlet is inverter prepped. So, there's 6 or 7 outlets in this RV that if you want to add an inverter to it to be able to run them off battery power for a limited time, you could. Now, there's no way you're going to be able to run household appliances like a coffee maker and have the solar, the 220-watt solar package on this indefinitely keep you up and running. That's not what this camper is. And basic budget campers like this do not have really big holding tanks for long-term boondock off-grid camping. So, if that's your plan, you're like, well, this is terrible for boondocking. Yeah, it's not exactly made for that. Each RV is made with a little bit different purpose. I kind of want to point something out here too. There's certain things where the RV doesn't have a TV from the factory, and this wall is just bare, plain vanilla. Look at it as an opportunity as an owner to put some personalization touches on the RV in a soft, easy way that isn't really invasive. You want to add a TV, she's ready for it. You want to add an inverter, she's ready for it. You want to add a picture of Ace Ventura being birthed by a rhino in the African Serengeti, you can do that. My wife won't let me, but you could, potentially in your camper. Another one of those inverted outlets up here for the TV area. And that is some deep, deep storage under that thing. I kind of like that. There is no peekaboo, I smell you bathroom door over here. And if I get this open for you, the bathroom is absolutely minimal. They didn't go a step further than they had to. I'm at a bad angle to showcase this, but to let you know, like when you're getting out of the shower, here's what you're looking at there. Now, this is an on-demand water heater. So if you want to do some back-to-back showers, you could. I didn't turn the lights on in here. Let me see if I can reach the light switch without jerking the camera around. I probably can't. 6'9" ceiling means if you're a little over 6 foot like me, you can fit in that shower. No problem. I don't have to have my head in the skylight. And in a budget camper like this, doing a wombo combo by putting the 4-inch fart fan vent above the shower to also act as a skylight, that right there, I think, is a pretty genius kind of concept. It is just a shower curtain, not a shower wall. Again, probably a budget-focused consideration. I was pleasantly surprised, though, with the space around the toilet. That was not bad, but once again, the benefit here in the bathroom, mainly to me, is not just legroom, but also headroom. So it's a nice 1-2 punch of stuff that they have going there. Now, The bedroom does employ the benefit of a sliding privacy door, not just a curtain. When you start getting into more budget campers, you start getting a lot of curtains instead of doors. So I like that they did that. And they also took just a little bit of time to add just that little bump out right here. And that means that there's no visible gap around the door in case you are currently conducting business to fill those bunks manually. You know, I don't know your life or your plans, but everybody camps different. Anyway, I mentioned this when the video began. That is a short camp queen. You could stuff a true queen in here. It's going to be a butt scoop boogie to get around it, but you could do it. So that's kind of a decision that's up to you. Because we have a sliding pocket door across from the bed, they put the TV hookups over there, although I mean, maybe it feels like there would have been space to put them there, but maybe there was some kind of conflict with the shower plumbing where they couldn't. I don't know. Once again, though, one of the things that made me go, whoa, really? Is the fact that a basic budget camper, able to be built with 50 amp service and a second air from the factory. You don't see that a lot. That's kind of a special quality, kind of a big deal. Something else they're doing, I really like. What is your opinion of this? Like, you've got the two wardrobe, you can see my hand. I talk to myself, obviously, with my hands while I'm working, and you can't even see it. But they have removable shelves. If you want this to be dresser space, you can have that. If you want it to be hanging space, you can have that. And you've got the exact same thing over here on the other side as well. I like that idea. I'm sure it costs a couple cents more, but I don't know. For me, that's juice that's worth the squeeze. That's just my opinion, man. I'm going to spin you around real slow here because I've never closed this one up, but I don't think it takes a whole lot of rocket science, especially with the orientation of that bunk room door and the location of the countertop. Soon as we start closing up this rack and pinion slide, you're going to lose the bunk room unless you shove the kids in through the cargo door. I'm kidding. Obviously, you never shove a kid through a baggage door like that. That sort of activity should be reserved exclusively for mother-in-laws. But other than the bunk room, the kitchen, the bathroom, the front bedroom, those are accessible. But this type of slide system is not built with the intention of somebody sitting in it while it's retracted. Manufacturers build to account for the allotted storage space, but not a human that they didn't put there. The trick when you start getting into private rear bunk room travel trailers is between the length and the weight that they incur, they stop being as accessible to half-ton pickups. Now, if you have a very nicely capable half-ton and you are flat landing around the Midwest without crazy winds or something like that, maybe with proper, good heavyweight distribution system, I could see that working. But if you're going to go cross country, you're going to go up and down inclines, you're going to go through wind zones, you're going to want to step your truck up. Just a recommendation. I can't guarantee you that. It's just an estimation that I have here. I'm going to give them credit for the tinted windows. And again, this is their more basic series, so things like slide sidewall windows we don't have there, and you can ding them for that. I get it. If that's an important feature for you, go ahead and do that. But this is, again, a budget-focused camper that doesn't do more than it needs to, necessarily. This is a rack and pinion slide, by the way. I'm trying to make a better point-to-point. Oh, hello. We got ourselves a bird's nest. That is a well-constructed bird's nest, too. But one thing I did notice, this is a dual sewer outlet. And I know that's a problem for some folks, too. And again, if you appreciate that I point out things that you might not like, hit that like button or something like that. But this is our bathroom black and gray. But our kitchen gray outlet is back there. My guess is because they, this is actually a symptom of the rack and pinion slide system. If you look at it, I'm going to teach you how to fish here real quick. The ram bar, basically, goes through the chassis. Well, where it's doing that, you have to have extra support, and you can't have holding tanks. So it forced the holding tanks far apart, which meant that we have a dual sewer outlet, which, hey, that's the tricky thing. Like, cable slides don't always have that problem, but some people don't like cable slides. There's always a push and a pull with everything, I do appreciate the fact they gave us the self-clasping magnet holdbacks on both sides of this thing. This side of the baggage compartment, they do use a smaller door than the other, but it is a full pass-through. Over here it says winterized. That must be where your water pump is located. Over here on the left, a couple things. this actually has some basic inverter prep, but you see that blue box in the upper left? That is our Victron charge controller. Even here on a pretty basic camper, they still allow the opportunity for a 220 watt solar package, but using a higher grade charge controller than you normally run into. So their solar panel is 10% bigger than most brands tend to do. Most brands tend to do about a 200 watt package. And they're using a better charge controller that can capture basically about 10% more efficient, effective charging. So do the math there. You're actually getting 21% more effective charge because they're just using better hardware on here, even though it is a basic camper. Now, all that being said, again, I'm trying to be fair. This is, it's what I call beyond the realm of reasonable expectation. This is a mess of wires up here. So they have the chassis ground, the chassis lead, the solar ground, the solar lead, the portable solar plug ground and lead, the power tongue jack power lead. I mean, like, there's way too many individual loose wires. Now, they're all red or black. It's not like it's terribly hard to figure out which one goes where, but it is kind of a mess up there. And for someone who's like putting a battery on themselves, who's not used to doing this professionally like I am, I could see it being intimidating, and I feel like they need to clean up that wiring a little bit. Something else that's kind of surprising, even though this is their more basic series, the most basic series really, they still have power stabilizers here. And you see how the underbelly is enclosed on this. So they are still including a couple of nice little creature features on here. And I'm going to give them credit again. I don't love outside speakers, but if you're going to do them, for my money, this is the way to do them. You want them down low instead of up by your chesticles where they're blowing away the neighbors with your Freebird Freedom Rock. You know what I mean? Backing up here, the awning feels a little underwhelming because the thing is, when you get a private rear bunk room, you know, the RV gets long and you have a lot of open sidewall space. The awning's not bad. It's just the RV is big, and, you know, I don't know. They probably could have sourced a little bit bigger awning to go back further over here, but hey, this is what we got, guys. If you don't like it, I totally respect it. I'm not going to argue with you. Up top here, 220 watt solar panel again. Notice how it sticks up really high, though. That allows more airflow to go under it, which allows it to stay cooler, which allows it to work better. It is a walkable roof. It is prepped and ready for a telescopic removable ladder that has to, you know, it's not included, has to be purchased separately. You see that we're backup camera prepped, although you can put a backup camera on about anything. And there's no special tires, no special running gear, basic series camper. However, you know, they don't do a camp kitchen, but they give us a gas grill cooker hooker right there. And once again, under those bunks, you have yourself a huge chunk of potential available cargo space, and depending on how you want to do it, you could utilize it inside or out. Now, this is the point in the video where I normally say I'll leave you links in the description for something similar. Well, I will leave you a link for pricing and availability, and there's certainly other private rear bunk room campers you might consider. Maybe I'll find a couple of those and link to them if I remember. I sometimes forget. But there's nothing else quite like this one. Now, I want to mention the one we just looked at is the Springdale Classic. It's their basic series. Springdale makes a more upscale kind of thing. The floor plans are a little different, but if you generally like what you see, but you kind of would like a little more Ritz and glitter, they make that too. I'll work on getting a couple of those recorded for you, and in the meantime, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.